This is Brooklyn, St. Michael with the School of Aquaponics, and this is Ask the Aquaponics Guy. Preventing you from becoming a biscuit-headed grower. Today, high class growers, we're gonna be talking about oversizing a biological filter. Can you oversize? Can you have too much biological filtration? That's what we're going to be touching on today. But before we jump into the topic, I want to thank you guys for liking the video, subscribing to the channel. The Aquaponic God appreciates every single one of you guys out there. Now let's jump right into it and see who's yapping today. Today we have Not Your Slave. Not your slave. I'm not your slave. Got it. It says, can there be too much biological filtration, assuming fish, feed, grow bed area ratio is correct? Not your slave. This is a good question here, right? This is a really good question. Now, the simple answer to this question, well, there's really no simple answer to it, but the straightforward answer to it would be a yes and a no. And this just depends on how you're asking this question and what you're referring to. Yes, there can be too much biological filtration if you're considering cost, and monthly bills, space limitation. There definitely can be too much biological filtration. And we're going to go through and break down an example real quick to show you how that can occur. And the no could be because the water quality or the water, characteristics don't change, if you have an excessive amount of biofiltration. That doesn't change what happens in the water. Right, so we'll get more into it right now, but to get into that, you guys already know I gotta whip out the Aquaponics whiteboard. So we're gonna get this set up real quick. Gonna go through and start breaking it down, and then hopefully you guys can get a lesson within a lesson. All right, so let's get this set up real quick, and I'll be right back. All right, bam. So we got the whiteboard set up. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna break this down. This is a partial equation of sizing, a moving bed bioreactor. This is a partial equation to it, but it's going to help us understand some of the consequences of oversizing a biofilter, having way too much biofiltration. What could happen? And it's going to kind of give you the gist of what it looks like when you're properly sizing your system for your biofilter, so you don't put too much biofiltration in your system that's unnecessary. It's not going to provide you any, significant benefits. So let's say, for example, we have a system that we have slapped together. It requires 1,000 grams of feed per day, right? 1,000 grams of feed per day. The feed content is 32% protein, which is that 0.32% protein. Now, when you break this down, that means 0.32 grams of protein is gonna be part of every gram of feed, right? So every gram of feed that you feed, 0.032 grams of that is gonna be protein. Now, this is important because from the protein is where you get your ammonia production. And the ammonia production is where you size your filter, because your ammonia production is what's going to determine the nitrification rates of that particular system that you have and that biofilter that you put in your system. So when we move over here to this part, 0.092 grams of TAN, which is total ammonia nitrogen, that's what TAN stands for, and this breaks down the two shared forms of ammonia that's present in your system. You have your unionized ammonia, the NH3, which is the gaseous form of ammonia, right? That's what's toxic to the fish at the low concentrations. And then you have your unionized ammonia, which is the NH4+, and that's relatively non-toxic to the fish. Those two together combined make up the TAN. And we need to deal with both of those in an aquaponic system. So for every gram of protein, you get 0.092 grams of tan production, ammonia production that gets excreted into the water, either by the fish gills or through the feces, right? Through the feces. So this is basically 9.2% of the protein is going to break down into the tan production. So 9.2% of the protein, the total protein, 9.2% of that is going to break off into your system as ammonia, right? So this is pretty much a formula, and this is a soft number here. This is not an absolute number, but when you read the literature, this is how it's broken down. And this is an overestimate, but it provides you with a safety margin so you don't undersize your biofilter. You don't underestimate the amount of total ammonia nitrogen production that you're going to get off of your feed, right? You don't want to undersize it. So it gives you, it's a soft number, gives you a little bit extra wiggle room. Now, so for this 1,000 gram feed per day system at 32% protein, once we break this down, and then at this 9.2% tan production, once we multiply all these together, this is going to give us 29.4 grams of total ammonia nitrogen per day. So this here, let's circle this. This here is how much ammonia this particular system here at this protein percentage will produce per day, right? This is what we will produce per day. Now, we're dealing with an MBBR, a moving bed bioreactor. Let's say we use the Curler X1 Advanced. This is a media that goes into the your moving bed bioreactor. So let's go down here. Let's break this down here. This has a VTR, or volumetric tan removal rate of 605. Excuse the writing. I'm a little crooked right now. 605 grams of tan per cubic meter per day. Now, Aquaponics guy, what the heck does that mean? What is this talking about right here? So let's break this down. The Curler X1 Advanced media, this would be equivalent to some of you guys use the K1 Coldness, something similar to that. This has a volumetric tan removal of 605 grams of tan per cubic meter per day. This means that if we have a cubic meter volume, which is, let's say, a cubic meter volume, which if you guys are in America, that's like 3.28 feet in the length, the width, or the length, width, and right? This will give you a cubic, 1 cubic meter. Hey, 10X. Dog over here barking. 1 cubic meter. Now, what this is saying is if I take this media here and I place this inside of here, which is a cubic meter, I will be able to remove 605 grams of tan, the total ammonia nitrogen, every day. That's what this will give us, right? So that's what this is breaking down to, right? So now if we want to find out using this media and this ammonia, total ammonia production per day, how much of this media is required for us to process safely this much amount of total ammonia nitrogen. So we can break that down. So we would take just our total ammonia nitrogen here, our 29.4 grams, that's per day, and we would divide that by the volumetric tan removal, which is 605 grams. Now let's get a calculator and let's find out what that breaks down to. Let me use this on my computer. Get my calculator real quick. All right, so we have 29.4 divided by 605 grams. So that gives us, let's say equals, we'll put it here, equals 0.05 cubic meters. That's what that would equate to, or 1.8 cubic feet. So that's how much of this media we would need. This particular Curlier X1 Advance, that's how much this is how much we would need in order to process this much ammonia every day, right? And I want to make this a note that this would be based off of a warm water application. So a warm water application, this is around 25 to 30 degrees Celsius, which is 77 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Because remember, I told you guys on another video that the lower the water temperature is, the adjustment is going to be made for the particular nitrification rates, right? The nitrification rates aren't going to be the same as you begin to lower the temperature. The bacteria get lazy. Remember, they get lazy around there, so they slow down. The rates slow down. So this is what we have over here thus far. Now, when we're dealing with oversizing, this would be for, you know, if we sized it properly, we would need this much media. Now, let's say we're winging it and, you know, we don't care about tan production, protein percentage. That stuff is nonsense. We don't want to hear about any of that. Feed per day, that stuff is madness. We just want to feed the fish. So let's say, for instance, instead of doing this and breaking this down, let's say we said we end up putting 1 cubic meter of biological filtration of this media here. We went ahead and did this instead. Now we have 0.95 cubic meters extra, right? And this is where it comes in. This is where the too much biological filtration comes into play. Hopefully you guys can see that. Yeah, you guys can see that. This is where this comes into play. So now, instead of purchasing 0.05 cubic meters of our media, we're now purchasing 95% more extra. So that hit us on the front end. So this is what it's going to break down to when we're talking about, you know, the cost and the price. We have 95% extra that we're paying for now. Also, when you do these MBBRs here, these require aeration, right? They need aeration in here. They need to be mixed. It needs to be constantly fluidizing the bed and mixing it together, right? The dead bacteria need to be knocked off the biofilm so new nitrifying bacteria can develop, right? So you need to provide air to that filter. If you have 95% extra biofiltration, that's going to run you're going to need a bigger filter, a bigger air source now to keep up with this. And also on top of that, it's going to be a larger monthly bill. You see what I'm saying? The bill is going to be larger because you have to be able to aerate this much more biofiltration. So this is where it comes into play when we're talking about too much. Now, on a small level, you may be able to get away with it, but as you can see how as these numbers start to grow, your operation gets bigger, especially if you're growing in a confined space, a hoop house, a greenhouse. This is going to matter because this is also taking up more space. If you do 95% more media, it's taking up more space now, right? It's taking up more space. So that real estate is very important. That's something that's extremely important, especially, you know, the bigger that you get. So this is what we're looking at. Now, like I said, if you're talking about the water characteristics of this particular system or your particular system, you can add, theoretically, you can add as much biological filtration as you want, right? Theoretically, you can have an infinite amount of biofiltration. that does nothing to the water characteristics, right? It doesn't hurt or it doesn't benefit, right? You're not going to get more nitrifying bacteria if you have an excess amount of biofiltration. That's not how it occurs. The only way you're going to get more of, let's say, the more of these bacteria, you know, your nitrifying bacteria, is if you, one, come over here and we say, up, not 1,000 grams, we're now feeding 2,000 grams of feed per day, right? The feed goes up, you multiply that by the protein percentage times the TAN production in relation to the protein percentage, and then this will go up. The nitrifying bacteria, the colonies and the population will increase, right? Because they'll be exposed to more of that TAN, and that's their energy source, right? That's their energy source. Another way that this population can increase, let's say we kept this at 1,000 grams. Another way you can increase this population is, boom, the protein percentage, we went from 32% to now we're feeding a 40% protein. This is something like for trout, you'll be feeding more than likely up in this range for the protein. 32, this is more so for the tilapia, the grow out period, I should say, right? Remember, as this protein percentage increases, you're multiplying by this percentage in relation to the protein. Now your TAN is going to go up when you break down the calculations. And in turn, your nitrifying bacteria, they're going to go up. This is the only way that this is going up. You can have an unlimited amount of biological filtration, and if this TAN doesn't go up, then all you're going to be having is biological filtration, not nitrifying bacteria, or it's not going to be doing anything for your system. So I hope that has helped you out, not your slave. I hope that has really helped you out. And anyone else out there that is listening and they may have been wondering the same thing, right? It's important to try to get your stuff sized appropriately, so you're not, you know, wasting any space, and you're not having a bigger bill than what you need, you know, without getting any benefit from it, right? Because if you increase from this 0.5 cubic meters to this 1 cubic meter and you just feel like winging it, you know, that's going to be, you're going to feel the long-term effects of that in the long run, right? It's going to catch you. It's going to creep up on you. That's for sure, right? So this is something to think about for you guys out there, and hopefully you guys have learned something from this. If you guys have any other questions, leave them in the comment section below, and we'll be sure to add it to the queue. And then, you know, we'll be breaking down some more stuff. I appreciate you guys asking questions and, you know, helping build the channel. You guys are absolutely wonderful for that. I appreciate you guys for that. So if you want more information on aquaponics, you can click on the link below. You can get a free starter guide, get a free aquaponics course that'll help you out, get you going. You know, get into the schoolofaquponics.com and learn the fundamentals of aquaponics, right? So until next time, this is Brooklyn St. Michael with the School of Aquaponics, reminding you to stop walking and get you a car.